I don't like Deadpool, okay? Hang on, don't click off. Look, my second ever video on the channel 10 years ago is all about why I don't think the character is funny, and it's not for a lack of trying. I don't like not liking things, and to try and make sure that I was giving Deadpool more than a fair chance, I have read a lot of the most iconic stories that he has ever been in, but no dice. But with that being said, there is one Deadpool comic that has always loomed over me. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I've always assumed that this is just what the title says it would be, a mindless slaughterfest with no real depth. Deadpool is the coolest and strongest boy, and it's edgy because a bunch of heroes die in gruesome ways. But it turns out that there is a lot more beneath the surface, and folks have assured me that not only is this one of, if not the best Deadpool story ever written, but this comic specifically is something that I would love because of its deep metatextual storytelling. Fourth wall breaks are cute and all, but when a work breaks the fourth wall right on down to the studs, now that's cinema. Hello and welcome to Comic Drake, where I talk about comic books and my name is Drake. Let's talk about it. Because this video is all about murder, there is a good chance that it could be demonetized, which is why I especially want to give a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Raycon, for making sure that I make at least a little bit of money off of it. I just got my hands on their brand new Essential Open earbuds and they rock. See, they sit just outside your ear canal, so you can stay tuned into the world around you without losing audio quality. My wife and I are in the process of moving to a new place, and the open earbuds have been amazing because they're light, comfortable, and I can easily listen to my own music separate from her while still being able to communicate. With Black Friday being just around the corner, Raycon's already affordable audio products are now up to 30% off site-wide. From everyday essentials to the latest releases, it is the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals are not going to last long, so shop now before they're all gone. Just go to buyraycon.com/DrakeOpen and take a look for yourself for, again, up to 30% off. Big thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video to make sure that it happened in the first place, but now, let's get back to it. Right off the bat, let me make it clear that Deadpool was not the first character to kill the Marvel Universe. That honor goes to the Punisher in 1995. But doing one of these books with Deadpool was a joke that swirled around the Marvel office for a good while until editor Jordan D. White was told to make it a reality. Now, obviously, there was no way in hell that Disney was going to let all of their precious characters be brutally killed off, so this is an alternate universe story. Jordan White tapped Cullen Bunn to write this series, who wanted to take Deadpool to a much darker place. Sure, Bunn was willing to give the readers what they wanted, and by all means, he delivered on the promise made by the title. But between killing the Hulk in his sleep while he was still Bruce Banner and turning Professor X into a vegetable by letting him plow the depths of his Machiavellian mind, there is a sadder story going on about how Deadpool is a victim of shadowy figures that control his every move. The comic creators themselves. This comic wastes no time getting right into the carnage. Reed Richards is dying, surrounded by the rubble of what used to be the Thing. We get a truly grotesque shot of Reed's elastic skin sagging more and more as the light fades from his eyes. Artist Alibor Talachek's art really helps sell the tone here because it's not cartoony and over the top like your typical Deadpool comics. Instead, it's grounded and ugly in a way that makes the violence visceral. And look, when I say ugly, I am not trying to say that Talachek's art is bad. Well, okay, maybe drawing Mary Jane like she's Voldemort is bad, but this rough and sketchy style perfectly fits this darker take on Deadpool. And speaking of dark, when Sue goes invisible to try and stealthily rescue her brother, she's too late, and his blood splatters onto her body, giving away her location. But what so many people forget about the Invisible Woman is that she is the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, and out of revenge for her family, she summons a force field inside of Deadpool's head, inflating it more and more until it pops and turns him into a human blood fountain. But, you know, healing factor. Wade doesn't stay down, and he takes out Sue in no time at all, but how exactly did we get to this point in the first place? Well, when the X-Men had finally had enough of Deadpool shenanigans, they admitted him to Ravencroft, which is essentially Marvel's Arkham Asylum, but the doctor in charge is actually the villain Psycho Man, who wants to brainwash Wade into being one of his soldiers. But when messing around with his mind, Psycho Man unlocked something more horrifying than he could ever imagine. A new voice in Wade's head that's telling him to kill. Well, I mean, maybe it's not that horrifying. I mean, Deadpool is already known to have multiple voices in his head, complete with different text boxes, and it's not like he needed much encouragement to kill people, but I digress. It's framed as a big deal in the comic. Deadpool kills Psycho Man, who I should mention is actually a little guy from the Microverse who is piloting a human-sized robot body because comics. And on the way out, Wade douses the asylum in gasoline and lets it all burn to the ground. But that new voice in Deadpool's head, it's not just motivating him to be more destructive than ever before. It has given him sight beyond sight, allowing Wade to look past the borders of the panels and right into the face of the Watcher. The baby bald boy whose whole shtick is that he watches shit go down without interfering, even though he breaks that rule constantly. Anyway, Deadpool kills the Watcher, which leaves him deeply unsatisfied. Taking the lives of superheroes, supervillains, and neutral observers isn't enough. He knows that the Watcher is always narrating to someone. He knows that we, the readers, exists, and he knows that we want to see something spectacular, bombastic, heck, maybe even amazing. So he fucking kills Spider-Man with a gun, even though that shouldn't be possible with his spider sense. And look, I don't want to be that nerd, but this one moment completely took me out of the comic. Peter's spider sense literally warns him when danger is incoming. We've seen him dodge bullets point blank before, so there is absolutely zero reason why this could have even been possible in the first place without any kind of drug or outside help. But for as much as this scene pisses me off, my good buddy Panda Red did notice a really profound detail in his video about Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which you should absolutely watch after this one.
In the fight with Spider-Man, there is a subtle floating heads moment from the audience, where they express their outrage and desire to stop Deadpool only once a line is crossed, and Spidey's already dead. Otherwise, they don't react at all, and they're sort of perverse spectators who don't show a realistic amount of alarm for the situation. In that moment, the civilians are representing the real-world comic readers. They're us. It's another subtler way of pointing fingers at the fans, condemning them and pointing out how fans perpetuate the cycle of suffering for characters they claim to love, and making clear that they are active participants in the mind-breaking level of cruelty and sociopathy that Deadpool sees it as, and that compliance and participation extends just as far as the character's mortality. If that suffering somehow results in the character's untimely demise, suddenly that suffering that they were compliant in mere moments ago is unjustified, and it's simply just bad writing.
Outside of this extremely unsatisfying kill, the next murder scenes are a lot more unique, and this is where the comic shines. Like, Deadpool stole a bunch of PIM particles, snuck into Avengers Tower, shrunk down a bunch of explosives, and then blew the place to high hell. But when Luke Cage survives thanks to his unbreakable skin, Wade reveals that he had also put some of the microbombs in their coffee, and gives Cage an explosive case of heartburn. But what about Thor? Some bombs aren't going to be enough to take him down. Well, Deadpool used the rest of the particles to make Mjolnir really big, so that when the God of Thunder recalled his hammer, he was taken out by the sheer force. Boop! And look, it's one thing to tear through all these iconic heroes, but we've seen this stuff happen in alternate universes before. No, what really makes this Deadpool a completely despicable and unredeemable monster is that he killed Power Pack, a team of literal small children. Hopeless and desperate for revenge, the loved ones of the fallen heroes pool all of their valuables together to hire Taskmaster to kill Deadpool. But that was totally unnecessary, because Taskmaster was willing to do this for free, because Wade deserves to die. But if we're being honest here, do any of these deaths really matter? Even the most disgusting and depraved ones? Because look, this is all fiction, so none of these lives that Deadpool is taking are real. And if you really stop to think about it, Wade doesn't even have a choice in enacting these murders. With Psycho Man opening his mind, Wade knows who's really responsible. Yes, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, but the fourth wall has been breaking him and every other character for decades. The characters in Marvel Comics aren't allowed to grow or heal or even be happy for long. Not really. The show must go on, and to keep churning out stories, these characters have to be broken down and keep having conflict. If anything, the sweet release of death is the best gift that Deadpool could have possibly given them. But even in death, it's possible for their torment to continue. At any point, a writer can just resurrect the dead and put them through hell all over again. So that's why Wade is searching for something big, a way to stop the treadmill of constant story beats once and for all. The nexus of all realities. Now, obviously, this is a big target. Someone on the cosmic level has to intervene, or else not only will the universe be destroyed, but all universes. But nobody came. Waid saw to that by having Puppet Master make figures of some big characters, allowing him to execute them without even lifting a finger. Deadpool makes his way to a swamp, where the door to the Nexus lays hidden, and this is where we get the big climactic showdown between Deadpool and Taskmaster, fighting to a standstill until Skullface over here succumbs to the burning touch of the Nexus Guardian, Man-Thing. With a single slice of his sword, Waid obliterates Man-Thing and rips open a portal to the Nexus through his body. As he swims through the multiverse, Deadpool doesn't stop to slaughter other realities to enjoy killing these same heroes over and over again. Instead, he emerges in the Prime reality, our real world, where he witnesses the final issue being plotted out. But before he finishes the job once and for all, Deadpool turns to the reader and lets us know that we're next. Okay. Well, the comic is fine, I guess. Look, I generally like Cullen Bunn's writing, but this was aggressively mid. I get it. The comic goes on and on about how the writers are responsible for Waid's life, but the deeper meaning is that because we as the readers demand to be entertained, we are complicit. Every time that we read and reread these comics, we are breathing life into these characters, and we are forcing them to relive their worst moments over and over and over again. We claim to love these characters, but because we want to see how the stories play out and always demand sequels because happily ever after isn't enough, we're the real evil. Oh no, we're the baddies. Now, credit where credit is due. This is a great idea for a comic, a brilliant one even, but in my opinion, it's not executed well. Probably because the comic only had 4 issues, and most of that was being taken up by the actual executions. Cullen Bunn clearly wanted to make this a more philosophical book and lean into the cosmic horror of what it's like to not be in control of your own actions, but it really needed a couple more issues to cook and explore those themes. And like, why didn't it get more issues? They would have sold. So come on, Marvel, let Cullen tell a longer and better story, and you will make so much more profit as a result. And look, I'm not trying to say that this book was 100% garbage, because there is plenty to love, such as how Deadpool's costume gets more and more tattered as the story goes on. Plus, like I said earlier, the sheer creativity of some of these kills are genius. Seeing Beast's hide being worn as a pelt is bone-chilling, and I love this shot of Kitty Pryde being stuck in an endless 4-dimensional hypercube so that she's unable to phase out of it no matter how hard she tries, which means that eventually she's going to die of starvation. But at the end of the day, this comic didn't finally make me a Deadpool fan because it comes off like a high school kid smoking weed for the first time and having the cosmic epiphany of,
dude, we're like all made out of stardust. So if you stop to think about it, we're like the universe experiencing itself, man.
But here's the thing. There is someone else in comics who I used to hate. Grant Morrison. They are the poster child for all things pretentious, metatextual, and needlessly convoluted. And you know what? They have since become one of my favorite comic writers of all time, to the point where I flew to Scotland to meet them. The reason why Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe didn't do it for me is because this whole concept was done so much better in the comic that made me a Grant Morrison fan in the first place. Yeah, surprise, this was a stealth video about Animal Man all along. I gotcha. Buddy Baker, aka Animal Man, is a D-list DC superhero, and back in the 80s, they weren't doing a damn thing with him, so they threw Buddy over to Morrison, who had just started out at the company. Morrison's new take on Animal Man was dark and psychedelic. You can tell because Buddy now wears a cool leather jacket. And also because this is how the first issue ends. After his wife and children were brutally murdered, Animal Man enters his black suit era, desperate to go back in time to stop it from ever happening. But when this doesn't work, Buddy discovers a breach in reality itself. The comic panels have broken, and when he looks out, all Baker can see is a huge blurry face looking back. When he ventures out, Animal Man ends up in comic book limbo, the place where all of the forgotten characters go to rest when they're not being used anymore. These characters are desperate to get out, and many will eventually. They just need the right spark. Like, one of Limbo's inhabitants is Mr. Freeze, which is wild because just 2 years after this issue was published, the iconic episode of Batman the Animated Series would get released that reworked his origin and made him an enduring classic. How could Mr. Freeze ever go back to Limbo now that he's been immortalized as Arnold Schwarzenegger? If you want further proof that Limbo doesn't have to be an eternal sentence, just take a look at Animal Man himself. He actually used to reside here until Morrison plucked him out of obscurity and made him relevant in the modern era of comics. But Buddy couldn't wait to be written back into the real world. He needed out now. So he wandered the wasteland of Limbo for what felt like years, eventually ending up at a simple house, where he's greeted by Grant Morrison in the flesh. Or like, in ink, because It's a comic book. He didn't actually make it to the real world. Whatever. This issue is so damn good. It's a simple conversation between Animal Man and his writer, with Morrison proving that they're the ones pulling the strings. But Buddy refuses to listen, and in a blind fury, he throws Morrison out the window, but is instantly mortified by what he's done. You see, this level of violence is not what Animal Man is all about. He only did it because Morrison wanted to prove that they had power over him. And it would also add some action to the issue to keep readers interested. I mean, hell, Morrison takes this a step further by creating a whole slew of superheroes for the sole purpose of having them explode as bloody fireworks, just to make the conversation more interesting for the artist to draw. Buddy pleads with Grant to resurrect his family. Just say it was a dream or something. But we all know that that wouldn't do. It's such a contrived story beat that readers would hate it, because yeah, we would. There are plenty of things that writers would love to do, but at the end of the day, this is a business, and for the most part, you need to give the readers what they want so you can keep selling issues and not get your book canceled. This whole issue is an amazing introspection on the relationships between readers, writers, and characters. And yeah, maybe it's going a bit overboard by just having Animal Man literally meet his maker and talk about all of this, but I just love the whole vibe of the story, especially because it ends with Grant Morrison's heart growing 3 sizes that day and ending with the reveal that Buddy's family was never dead. After all, it was just a dream. Because Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe clearly wanted to explore these same themes, I did give the sequels a shot, hoping that they would build upon the foundations of the first one, but none of them did it for me either, because they kind of didn't. My favorite, though, is Deadpool Illustrated, which has the clever idea of Wade going to famous literary works to kill the original characters that would then spawn the ideas that all future works of fiction would be inspired by. So literally going to the source and nipping it at the bud. Out of all 5 books in the Kilogies, that one's the best. You heard me correctly. There are 5 of these damn books and 2 Kilogies, and they are truly baffling for how they're presented. So you would think that Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe again would be a sequel to the first one, but nope, it's not. It is about a completely different Deadpool, and instead of having a profound meta element to it, this comic shows all of those interesting ideas aside and is instead the same bloodbath that the first book was trying to condemn. Now, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe one last time, that is a sequel to Again, where that Deadpool is now a hero and has to traverse the multiverse to get every single superpower in all of Marvel history to become like a god or something. It's mediocre. Now, Deadpool Illustrated, which I mentioned earlier, is a separate sequel that does actually follow the Deadpool from DKMU, and then that comic got another sequel called Deadpool Kills Deadpool that ends with the main Earth 616 Deadpool having to get involved, and dude, I don't know how he ended up getting a goddamn Kingdom Hearts timeline because of this. Like, what do you mean that Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe Again is not a direct sequel to Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe? Cullen Bunn has stated that he will keep on making these comics as long as Marvel keeps asking him to. And in an interview, I heard him say that he has a pitch for Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe one last time again. And during that same interview, I watched him come up with, on the spot, an idea for Deadpool Kills the Golden Age Marvel Universe, where Wade would slaughter all the old school comic characters that Marvel isn't interested in using anymore. There's never going to be an end to these. But after reading through the 5 that are currently out, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to pass on what comes next. But if you like this video, then why not consider subscribing or even watching another one? But in fact, before you watch any of my videos, you should definitely go over to Panda Red's channel and watch his video on Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. He's a lot kinder to it than I am. And hey, you saw a little bit of it in this video. So if you liked it, well, hey, you're probably going to like that too. But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new. And hopefully, I'll see you next time.